Well, the Mountaineers just won a big one. Their first big one of the season, defending home court, remaining unbeaten at Hope Coliseum. Mountaineers win over the 22nd ranked Kansas Jayhawks at home, 86-75. We got you covered here on Mountaineer Moment, a full-on recap of this big win for West Virginia, what it means moving forward. This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Mountaineer Moment, episode 126 of the show. Available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. You know the drill. If you've been here a while, you get it, you know it. And we would love for you to subscribe to Mountaineer Moment on any and all of those platforms. YouTube, we're creeping up closer and closer to 500, and just super thrilled and blown away by the support that this channel has gotten in its brief history. Again, 126 episodes. Sounds like we've been at it a while. We really haven't. Just a few months. Late August, start of the football season is when we launched this thing, and have been plugging away ever since. But this is your source, Mountaineer Moment, what we say, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. And this episode is a recap of West Virginia's big-time win over Kansas at the Hope Coliseum to get to 2-1 in conference play, back-to-back wins. That's 3 straight wins with 3 different coaches over the Jayhawks. They have their number for sure. And we're going to give you all that you need to know from that win, just to relive it, retell it, give you some keys, some moments in this game that led to the West Virginia victory, and all that fun stuff. Again, this is episode 126, and my name is Troy. I am your host here on Mountaineer Moment. This game overall, what we're going to talk about, this game, I think, coaches, players, as a team, as a whole, as a university, as a basketball program, everything, like, it's a confidence boost for this team, for this culture that they're building, for Ross Hodge and his players and his coaching staff. This is a confidence boost. We'll talk about that toward the end. We're going to talk about this crazy second half run that the Mountaineers went on where they were firing on all cylinders, offensively and defensively, just making things happen. And that was the thing that changed this game, turned it all around. We'll talk about that and that run and what was key, essential in that. We're going to talk about this West Virginia offense, very efficient, 86 points against the Kansas Jayhawks. That is no small feat, and so we'll talk about that. But where we're going to start this episode is with the simple fact that this was a all-around team victory for West Virginia. It was a massive just team win. All 8 players that played, the starters, the guys off the bench. There were guys who have been quiet that we're going to talk to who played really, really well in this win against Kansas. And you needed all of it. You needed every bit and every piece that you got from these guys. And it was just a team win. And it was the most team win we've had all season long. By far, right? You can obviously, coming off the win against Cincinnati, like, there were certain elements that made that a kind of a team win, team feel to that, because it's your first win over, a Big 12 team. And then now you got Kansas Jayhawks coming to Morgantown, a place they don't like to play historically since, Mountaineers have been in the Big 12, but all new team for West Virginia. Darren Peterson figures to be a top 3 pick in the NBA draft here in just a few months. Like, he's that good. This Kansas team, 4-star, 5-star, you name it, like, it's Kansas. They're blue blood. And they come to Morgantown, and in order for West Virginia coming into this game, like, we knew it, in order for them to win, you need all hands on deck, right? Because we could have came into this game and said, Honor Huff's going to make 11 threes, and it might not be enough. You know what I mean? Because other guys had to step up and play well, and you got just that. This was a team win. And it felt really, really good because the guys that contributed to this team win that weren't the regulars, right, or maybe guys that have been a little bit more consistent as of late, we've talked about that very thing here on Mountaineer Moment, right? Honor Huff, aside from the Iowa State game where he didn't shoot the ball well, has been consistent. Chance Moore has been consistent. You know what you're getting with him. Belo at times has been consistent. Eagle staff has been inconsistent. Jasper Floyd has been inconsistent. Harlan Obioha has been inconsistent and really, really, really going through a rough stretch was Harlan Obioha. So 3 of your starters have been, to this point, as inconsistent as all get out, if not, just calling what it is, like not playing well, right? Harlan Obioha would say he won't play very well before this game. Oh, Harlan Obioha got a double-double against the Jayhawks. And you can bet you needed all of that from the big 7-footer in his 20 minutes. He gave you 11 points and 10 boards and 2 blocks. 6 of his rebounds were on the offensive end. A couple of them were part of that big run that West Virginia had in the second half, down 8 to up 12. It was a 22-2 run for West Virginia in the middle of the second half. Incredible stuff. And it wasn't against Mount St. Mary's or Campbell or Mercyhurst. This was against Kansas, the mighty Jayhawks, who came to Morgantown and went home with another loss. That's what this West Virginia team did. And it was a whole team effort. Credit to Ross Hodge for the way that he coached this one. Out-coached Bill Self in the second half. Man, that's got to feel good, right? That has got to feel good for the head ball coach of the Mountaineers. Team win. Harlan Obioha gave you his numbers. Honor Huff had 23 points, 4 of 11 from 3. Got to the line a bunch, even late, with them fouling and everything, but 9 of 10. He had 7 rebounds. He had 8 rebounds against Cincinnati, led the team. He had 7 rebounds again. Dude's a dog, right? Belo had 16 in the first half, finished with 18 on 7 of 15, 6 assists. 6 assists, 1 turnover for Belo, getting it done. Trayson Eaglestaff, 12 points, knocked down 2 out of 5 from 3. You like that. And then Jasper Floyd, early foul trouble, had 2 fouls, sat most of the first half. And it's like, well, he's coming off a game where you didn't particularly love the way that he played. He's coming through a stretch where he hasn't really been playing too hot, but he's the starting point guard. He didn't shoot a shot. He did not shoot a single field goal against Cincinnati. You and I really didn't like that. Then he gets this early foul trouble, and it's like, here we go again. It's like, okay, well, Amir Jenkins is going to come in and do his thing, and maybe we just want Amir, right? At this point, maybe we're frustrated, right? You said it, I said it. Maybe we're frustrated with Jasper Floyd. Well, let me tell you, Jasper Floyd engineered that run in the second half that West Virginia went on. He didn't miss a field goal today. He was 4 of 4, 9 points. I'm pretty sure, all of that was in the second half. He knocked down his only 3-point attempt. And he was crucial as part of that big run. His big 3 made Kansas call timeout as in the middle of that run. He found matchups that he wanted in the post and just continued to back a guy down. He passed it out if he didn't have anything, but if he had something, he went up with it. Made 2 of them. One of them was an and one as part of that run. Like, he was just really, 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 really good in that second half, doing what he does best. And you needed it. DJ Thomas, 5 points, 1 of 3 from 3, 4 rebounds for 14 minutes. For the freshman, Amir Jenkins, 18 minutes, a couple points, 3 assists. Chance Moore, relatively quiet for him, 20 minutes, 1 of 4, 6 points for him, and he made a 3. That was his only field goal make for Chance Moore was a 3, right? You don't see that every day for him. You think if he's going to make anything, it's going to be right near the hoop. But 6 points, 4 rebounds for Chance Moore. It was a complete team win. And you love it. You love to see it. I'll speak to Chance Moore, too, just before I would forget to get to it later. Trayson Eaglestaff played 38 minutes. Chance Moore played 20. Whoa. Like, whoa. I did notice one time, Ross Hodge, I think Chance Moore he hadn't been in the game very long, and did something wrong, I guess. I don't know. And he pulled him back out and was talking to him on the sideline. And he wasn't saying good job, and I don't know. But coming into this one with the athleticism and the size that Kansas has with Peterson, right? You might think that Chance Moore might be the best matchup for Peterson, and then, Trey White, Melvin Council, all those guys. I mean, all of them that this Kansas team has. You would think, man, Chance Moore's got to be out there to play some defense. Well, he wasn't. 20 minutes, 38 minutes for Eaglestaff, 38 minutes for him, 39 for Huff, and 31 for Belo to lead the way. Obioha and Jasper had 20 minutes apiece. So that's significant, and that was a coaching decision obviously he liked what he saw with Eagle staff out there. And it's not like he went for 20, but he got 12 and made 2 out of 5 from 3, knocked down 4 of his free throws, all 4 of his free throws. So that's significant. That was a coaching decision that you and I probably didn't see coming. But it worked out, right? Eagle staff was the guy on the floor late. Chance Moore wasn't. So just saying with that. Now, let's speak to, again, mention, all right, overall team win. That's a fact. Second point, West Virginia had some really, really good, efficient offense in this one. And it's not that we haven't seen that at times this season, but, you know, the teams we've seen that against have been not Kansas, right? West Virginia had 91 against Coppin State, including a 51-17 second half in that one. West Virginia was, shot at 47%, got to the line a ton, knocked down 11 threes against Coppin State for 91 points. You scored 90 against Little Rock. But in these other games against quality opponents or power conference opponents, against Pitt, you blew them out, but you only scored 71. You scored 67 against Clemson. You scored 68 against Xavier. You scored 88 against Ohio State, but that was in 2 overtimes. You scored 59 in the blowout loss against Iowa State. And the win just a few days ago against Cincinnati, your first win in Big 12 play. It was a 62-60 rock fight at times, right? West Virginia was efficient shooting the ball from 3 in that one, 11 of 23, which you like. You'll take that. But just 62 points. And then you come up against Kansas, which is arguably the second best team you played this season, second to Iowa State. You get them at home where you haven't lost yet, and then you come out and just by the numbers, 11 threes out of 26. You knocked down your free throws, 21 for 29, 72%, and you needed them. You needed to make your free throws, and you did. Fortunately, in a lot of ways, the right guys were at the line, right? Huff led the way with 10 attempts. Eagle staff made all 4 of his, and so on and so forth. So you got a couple, got the right guys to the line at times. 27 of 56 from the field, so just, one field goal shy of being at 50%, at 48%. And it was just the really efficient offense in both halves. West Virginia was trailing by 4 at half, 43-39. And I thought that, just to go on a little bit of a rabbit trail, I thought that was a big sequence, a big swing for Kansas. So West Virginia is trailing by 1. I think it was after a Kansas-made basket. You're trailing by 1. There's maybe like a 3 or 4 second difference between the shot clock and game clock. You bring it down the floor. I'm thinking right there, okay, you're down 1. Worst case scenario, you go into the half down 1, right? Worst case scenario, because you're going to get the last shot. Worst case scenario, you go in the half down 1. Well, they did not go in the half down 1, and I thought the best case scenario, right? You hit a 3, you're up 2, right? You're either going to be up 2 or you're going to be down 1, or somewhere in between. And then West Virginia turns the ball over. Again, I think Kansas had 5 or 6 seconds. Peterson comes down and makes a tough 3. And just like that, you're down 4. I thought that was a big blow. I was not too happy with that sequence there to end the first half. And then we know the story, right? Kansas jumped that lead up all the way to 8. I think it was, 59-51 in favor of Kansas. And then the swing happened. But overall, West Virginia, and the announcers were saying it, LaFonso Ellis and whoever he was with on the broadcast, but they were saying it like West Virginia, certainly especially in that second half where they scored 47 points, they were taking advantage of Kansas's defense. They were doing what they wanted. They were exploiting matchups, right? Obioha, several offensive rebounds in that swing. Jasper Floyd doing what he wanted, controlling the pace and getting down low. Because of the big half that Belo had in the first, freed him up for some passes, right? He had a beautiful pass to Honor Huff on the wing as part of that scoring stretch for West Virginia where Huff knocked down a 3. They were getting to the paint. They were doing things at will, whatever they wanted with, the matchups that they liked. West Virginia's offense just completely dominated Kansas in that second half. Right? You outscored Kansas by 15 in the second half. 47-32, and you send Kansas packing with the loss, 86-75. Felt really good. And now, again, we'll talk about the defense here, too, in just a moment, but that was due in large part to some really good offense, some really efficient offense. There was one play out of a timeout. I think it was actually a timeout. It might have been a TV timeout, but there was one sequence where it might have even started with Kansas having the ball, but West Virginia's first possession, whether it was the first possession out of the timeout or the second possession, but West Virginia's first out of a timeout, was a beautiful play. Some sort of slip play where he got DJ Thomas wide open for a layup. Just a beautiful, beautiful set that was clearly drawn up in that timeout that just happened. So there was moments like that in this game where they got to the free throw line and made the free throws. The right guys were taking the right shots. Jasper Floyd, when he did his thing in that, was slowing the pace down. And, he got the matchup that he wanted and took advantage. And time again, West Virginia got matchups that they wanted and took advantage en route to a 47-point second half against the mighty Jayhawks, right? Like, that was pretty impressive stuff for a West Virginia offense. And dare I say, right, again, because the teams that they've done that against previously aren't, it's nothing, they're not Kansas, right? Just said that. So their most efficient offense of performance of the season. And again, you can attribute that, you can chalk that up to, you can chalk that up to the fact that it was a team win. It was a total team effort. Everybody getting involved, everybody making a difference, and it showed. It showed, right? They only played 8 guys tonight. Jackson Fields did not play. He's one guy that I'm still wanting to get more minutes, right? Inside, I'm just like, I think he could do something for this team. Great athlete. Had a good season at Troy where he came from. They made the NCAA tournament, so I'm not giving up hope on Jackson Fields really having an impact on this team because he's good. I think he can do something. But defensively in the second half, now what allowed West Virginia to go on a 22-2 run wasn't simply the fact that they were just lighting it up, but their defense was stepping it up. I mean, it looked really hard for Kansas to penetrate. It looked really hard for them to, just do anything that they wanted to do, right? They were constantly, this defense was constantly disrupting KU's offense so much so that, it goes to a 22-2 run. And it's not like Kansas had a million turnovers, right? They had 6 turnovers all game, did the Jayhawks. That's it. And so it was just grinded out, half-court defense for West Virginia. Early in the game, Kansas was getting runouts and getting easy, fast break points. Well, that didn't happen in the second half, and here's what happened. West Virginia wins the game, and it was a big run that they have to thank for that. And so defensively, job well done. And that, again, you chalk that up too. Like, Chance Moore wasn't really out there a whole lot in the second half. Jasper Floyd had a lot of the duties on Darren Peterson, who had 16 or 18, I think, in the first half, but he finished with 23 points and was 6 of 17 from the floor. Which, real quickly, I'll look, which is by far, pretty significantly, ish, his worst shooting night of the season. First time in the 30s. He's against TCU when he had 32 points, by the way, in their win in overtime on Tuesday night. He went 8 of 18, which is 44%, but 35%, 6 of 17 against West Virginia. He did knock down 3 of his 9 triples, knocked down all 8 of his free throws, but Jasper Floyd, well done. He matched up with him a few times, and there was one even timeout, if you remember, when they had Coach Hodge mic'd up, and he mentioned, just bringing another body to Peterson. It was in the second half, like the need for them to do that. And then the possessions that followed that, you could see it, right? They were sold out sort of on like not letting that guy go beat him in the second half because, he could have, right? If the defense continued the way that it was on him, he could have came out and had 25 in the second half, right? And put up a 40 ball on us. But he didn't. And Jasper Floyd and help defense is to credit for that for West Virginia. Kansas had, a few guys obviously in double figures. Trey White was good. He had 18 points. Melvin Council, 11 points, 0 of 3 from 3. As a team, they were 8 for 27 from downtown, so that was good 3-point defense. 26 of 61, 43% for Kansas. And, we mentioned, I think I mentioned this pregame, that West Virginia's defense in the small sample size Big 12 play was giving up a ton of assists. So much so that there were only 6 made field goals between Iowa State and Cincinnati. Like, their offenses had only 6 made field goals that didn't come off of an assist. And then we looked at Kansas. Their first 2 games was quite the opposite of that as far as an offense is concerned. They were doing their thing, a lot of ISO ball by the way that would look, and they weren't assisting on a lot of their made baskets. If I remember correctly, they were like 40-something% of their made baskets came off an assist. Meanwhile, West Virginia was giving up 88%. And so we said something's got to give. Well, tonight, or that afternoon, Saturday afternoon, West Virginia held Kansas to 26 made field goals, and they had 11 assists. And so you like that a little bit more than just simply what we saw against Cincinnati and certainly Iowa State. Lots of catch-and-shoot opportunities, easy assist, easy bucket. Wasn't that easy for Kansas, certainly not in that second half. So shout out to the West Virginia defense for what they did to step up and make that second half run possible. Now, we'll end with a little bit of big picture stuff, and I'm not talking big picture like, oh my gosh, look at Lenardi, where's he got us on the bubble, like, nothing like that, but big picture. West Virginia improves to 11-5 overall. They improved to 2-1 in conference play. There's obviously a few unbeaten teams in conference, including Arizona and Iowa State, who are still undefeated overall. Houston, who West Virginia's got a date coming up with them, so don't get any easier. And this is life in the Big 12. We know this. We expected this. BYU is also unbeaten in conference play, excuse me. But we knew that it wasn't going to be easy. BYU won over Utah to get to, even just to look at the Utah fell to 0-3. They fell to BYU at home, just around the Big 12 real quick. They fell to BYU at home 89-84 for the Cougars, who get the win over Utah, who falls to 8-8 overall. Houston put the hurting on Baylor, who falls to 0-3 in conference play. This is all Saturday scores. Arizona beat up on TCU by 13. Iowa State beat Oklahoma State 83-71. Texas Tech beats Colorado on the road 73-71. Arizona State over K-State 87-84. So a few close games in there. And then, of course, Mountaineers 86-75 over the Jayhawks, who fall to 1-2 in conference play. Now, with all that said, big picture, what are we talking here? West Virginia's 11-5. You're 2-1 in conference. Well, don't look now. But you got Houston coming up on Tuesday night at Houston. A team that almost won the national championship last year, a team that brought a ton of talent back, new talent in, very talented group, best defense in the country. Like, we know all the things, and rightfully so, that, you chalk up to Houston how good this team is. Sitting at 15-1 on the season, lone loss coming to Tennessee, 76-73 back in late November. I think that was part of that tournament out in Vegas, but they are off to a 3-0 start in conference play real quick. We'll certainly going to get to the whole preview for Houston, but they got to win 67-60 over Cincinnati, who West Virginia beat 62-60. They beat Texas Tech at home, and then they beat Baylor on the road by 22, beat Tech by 4. But we'll talk about all that more coming up in a Houston preview. But as far as what this win does for West Virginia for, the immediate future and for, the next couple months, it has the potential to do something for you. And I think first and foremost, it's a confidence boost is what it is, right? Players, coaches, team, collective, this whole basketball program, this is a confidence boost for you as a unit. This feels good because, again, think about even where a lot of these guys came from. Any of them that aren't any of these guys that played this afternoon, that are upperclassmen, right, that aren't freshmen, that are, just starting their career in Morgantown. Think about where these guys came from, right? North Dakota, North Texas, UNC Wilmington, Chattanooga, St. Bonaventure, right? These are guys that come from smaller programs, and certainly, in non-conference occasions, they had opportunities to play against teams like Kansas or Iowa State. Trey Eaglestaff knows a thing or two about playing against Alabama. Came up short in that game, but he had a 40 ball, right? But now they're all here in Morgantown. This wasn't like a David versus Goliath, right? It's not UNC Wilmington playing against Kansas where that would be a major upset. But you're at West Virginia and it's Kansas and you're still an underdog, and Kansas got all these 4-star, 5-star guys, lottery picks on lottery picks every year. And then West Virginia comes in with this ragtag bunch of guys who some people are like, they shouldn't even be here. They're not Big 12 caliber. That's why they started their career at smaller schools. All of these things. And you just beat the Jayhawks. That's a good feeling. That's a confidence boost for this unit, right? And I'm not sitting here saying Jasper Floyd's lacking confidence. Have you seen him? He has a ton of confidence. Honor Huff, ton of confidence. These guys are a confident bunch, and they're not super giddy crazy that they just beat Kansas they're through the roof. Yeah, it's exciting, it's great. But they're a confident bunch, but their confidence grows with this. Their confidence grows with this, knowing it going on a tangent here, but you win this game, and then part of you is yeah, that's why I came to West Virginia, right? Part of you is you know what? There might have been some naysayers saying that it's not going to work out. Ross Hodge, he hadn't coached long enough. Why is he at West Virginia now? Why am I going to West Virginia as a player? I'm not good enough to play there. I'm not good enough to knock off the big dogs. Well, you just did. It's one game. I get it. But team morale and chemistry and everything, Chance Moore celebrating post-game. Huge smile on his face. He didn't have his best game. He didn't play a lot. And he didn't seem to care. Because this team came in to beat Kansas at home, defend home court, and they did just that. And it makes you feel good because you came believing and trusting in Ross Hodge. If you're a player, that you came after he agreed to be the head coach of the Mountaineers, you came to join him, and you came thinking and hoping that you could win some games with him. And to this point, before Saturday afternoon, you hadn't really done that. You had opportunities to beat some decent teams. You played Iowa State and got wrecked. You beat Cincinnati. That one felt good, but this has a different, even greater feel to it. It just does. So, great team win, great collective effort, and I'm hopeful that this win will do some things for you in the future. As far as confidence is concerned, team chemistry is concerned, just team overall buy-in to what you're trying to do and what you're trying to build here, even in this season. For the seniors, even just this season, what you're trying to build toward later on down the road. So, huge win for West Virginia. Super happy for Ross Hodge and this entire team. Arena looked amazing, electric. They were on fire. Students came back early to be a part of it, and you just love to see that too. So 86-75 in favor of the Mountaineers. This has been episode 126 of Mountaineer Moment, and we will see you next time.